finally, our last speaker is Anita.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Aunt Janelle. Privileged to be here. I forgot my own daughter's name. Okay, so I'm going to first of all start off by introducing myself and saying a little bit about my background before I go into the profession under the criteria in which Jaima and Janelle asked us to speak about. So I'm a wife, a mother, and a pharmacist. I was born in Ghana, West Africa, and actually emigrated to England where, when I was 3 years old in my family, where I grew up and undertook my education. So I actually got my bachelor's in pharmacy in England. I worked there for several years, and before coming here, I was actually working in the role of dispensary manager in one of the large teaching hospitals over there. So we emigrated over to the US in around 2000. We had one child at the time, and I completed some internships, took my boards and law exam, and became licensed in America, and have stayed in the field of hospital pharmacy over here in England. I also did some retail pharmacy. In England, it's a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, which is a 4-year degree with 1-year internship, and in America, it's a doctorate, so it's a 6-year degree, and you complete your internship within that time. In the US, I've worked for the last 15 years, I think, in various hospitals, JFK, Somerset, and I'm currently at New Brunswick, at Robert Wood Johnson in New Brunswick. So, what does a pharmacist do, you might ask? We are licensed drug dealers, so basically my job focuses on the safe and effective use of medication. So we are not just the guy you see in the back of Walgreens or CVS with a white coat on the phone and you can never get to speak to them. We look at medications in terms of the effective dose for the patient, side effects, interactions, any complications. We advise doctors, help out nurses. I'm talking from a hospital setting because that's where my background has mainly been. Obviously, there's various fields of pharmacy. You can go into the hospital field, the retail field, there's an industrial side, there's radio pharmacy, and even within hospital itself, you can further specialize. We have sterile pharmacists who are involved in preparation of intravenous medications, oncology medications. There's specialities in pediatrics, infectious diseases. It's endless. The opportunities are there. It's for you to get involved and decide what your passion is and follow through with that. So why have a diverse workforce in the first place? The benefits of a diverse workforce are vast and include different perspectives and experiences that ultimately contribute to a better decision making and a more productive and robust workforce. So we all know the fact that men and women lead differently. We think differently, and women tend to be more nurturing and better multitaskers, and sometimes we underestimate ourselves and our qualifications and maybe hesitate to go for these leadership and supervisory roles and opportunities. So we definitely need to make sure that we are giving ourselves and our girls the skill sets, confidence they need to seek out these opportunities. So generally, in many professions, both inside and outside of healthcare, there's disparities in women's leadership positions compared to their male counterparts, and that's very prevalent in the corporate landscape. Healthcare, not so much, but definitely you see that in corporate. So we have to try and equalize this gender gap, and there's ways to go about doing that, basically. So how does that apply to my profession in pharmacy? How is there a gender gap that I've seen. I also did a Google search and found out that pharmacy is one of the most, big word coming up, egalitarian careers available today. And that basically means that really there's equal opportunities, there's equal amount of opportunities for males and females. We get equal pay for equal qualifications. So it's a great field to be in. And actually, there is, women make up slightly more than 50% of all full-time pharmacists. So again, it's, you know, there's a lot of women in pharmacy, and they probably are the majority. However, this wasn't the case 50 years ago, where there was only about 8% of women in pharmacy. And I think the change probably has come about because of the flexibility. That you used to have to work long hours, like in retail, and there wasn't the flexibility in schedules, shift work, and what have you. So now this has afforded for women to have a career as well as take care of the home. And certainly in my journey in England, before husband, children, I worked in the day, and once I moved over here, I was a day shift pharmacist, predominantly in hospital. And as my family grew, we had to make choices because it was just unaffordable to put 3 or 4 kids in daycare and also try and work full time. So I made the decision to go night shift. So I'm going to put night shift, you know. But it worked for my family because I do, my schedule is 7 on, 7 straight nights on, and 7 nights off, which sounds wonderful on paper, but to do it practically is pretty hard. But it worked for my family. It gave me the opportunity to, you know, follow my career, my passion, which I enjoy doing, as well as having that opportunity to be a mother and to have a more input in my kids' life, do the running around, help with homework, cook and do all of that. So I always called going to work my second job, because after doing all this stuff at home, then I had to go to work. But the opportunity was there. You could make that decision for yourself. According to a National Pharmacist Workforce study in 2014, it was found that more than 60% of pharmacy students were female, and currently there are more licensed female pharmacists than there are males. So clearly we have the numbers. So how does this translate to women in leadership positions? So basically it depends on what kind of leadership positions you're talking about. So again, if we go to senior management and senior leaders in the big pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies, then definitely female faces are lacking at the top of those ladders, and there's more work to be done there. If, again, that's your passion, that's your dream, then it's not that it's unattainable, but you have to give yourself the extra qualifications. Seek out, is it a business certifications, is it management certifications? You can chase that dream, chase that passion, but right now, again, it's mainly male-dominated, those higher fields. However, women are still well represented in mid-level healthcare management positions, and certainly in at least 2 or 3 of the hospitals I've worked at, we've had female directors who control very large drug budgets and huge amount of staff. And currently at Robert Wood, where I work, we have a female director. Again, many women are spearheading clinical specialities and driving change in the prescribing arena within hospitals. So that's another form of leadership, where they're making decisions on clinical policies and protocols involving drug usage. For example, in infectious diseases, a lot of the new antibiotics and what have you are very expensive, and they decide what's first line in conjunction with doctors and other healthcare members. What's first line, what's second line. We have pharmacists leading diabetes clinics, anticoagulant clinics. So there's loads of leadership opportunities, and it doesn't have to be, you know, CEO of some company. It just depends what your passion is. You can still follow that. So what are my experiences in leadership? So as I mentioned before, in England, I was the dispensary manager, and that's another word for like the central pharmacy. It was in a hospital, and I was responsible for managing the junior pharmacists who had just come out of school. Junior pharmacists who had just come out of school, technicians and pharmacy assistants. So my job entailed staff recruitment and interview, developing training, and producing standard operating procedures. And that was the last job I did before I came over here. And experiences with discrimination. Again, I encountered a few discrimination instances, and that was again mainly in interviews. Otherwise, I haven't really, in terms of people saying, no, you can't go for this, or this is not for you. I haven't encountered anything like that. But my first job interview, when I set foot on American soil, was with one of the chain stores. I'm not going to name which one, but the first question that I was asked was whether I had a child, did I have childcare, and what would I do if my child was sick? So I was very disheartened by this interview. I'm like, oh my God, is this what America's like? This is terrible. So, but that didn't deter me. I did secure an internship position and got my hours so that I could proceed to get my license. And those are my experiences with discrimination. As I say, I didn't really see or feel anything apart from those instances. I think it's a great profession. It's, again, doesn't discriminate between sexes. If you have the qualifications, if you have the experience, then the sky's the limit for you in pharmacy. So, in conclusion, I just want to say some of the best things about my profession. Again, there's a lot of diversity of career paths and tracks. You can decide if you like hospital, if you like retail, if you like industry, and if you want to specialize. There's loads of different certifications you can take and keep studying. Again, the flexible work schedule is awesome. You can work part-time, there's shift work, and even there's mail order pharmacies which allow you to work in the comfort of your own home, where you're actually reviewing prescriptions that are faxed into a computer. They can set it up. You do have to have a camera on you, so I don't know how many of us would want that, but the possibilities are out there. So, you know, dream big. Only you can determine how high you want to go. And just a little advice to the young ladies in the room. You know, I always have tried to stay one step ahead of any changes. You know, be an advocate and get involved in your community, join associations, and communicate your passions. Whatever the idea is, you can discuss it, start discussing it, find a mentor, network. Networking is so important. You can make connections and you know, learn a lot and see what's out there. If you see it an opportunity, don't wait for somebody. You can start doing that thing. You can overcome barriers and create your own opportunities. And lastly, a fun fact, did you know that women constitute over 50% of the US population and represent approximately 50% of the labor force? We serve as breadwinners in more than 40% of our homes, and we control about 70 to 80% of consumer spending. You are a force to be reckoned with. Go for it.